Is this like the fourth video I've had on the main event? It's like, am I overdoing it? Then I realized, like, no. Maybe 1 out of 20 guys who even get it managed to successfully pass it. Welcome, Midswatch, Ryan. Another episode. If you're new to the channel, welcome, like, subscribe. Why is it called a Midswatch? It's because it comes out at midnight, and it reminded me of my old days sailing when I was on shift work. It's an ASMR red-pilled fest. No White Claws, just red pills. This one is about a field report from a big main event and reset game. And I like this because I talked before about the main event. If you don't know what a main event is, when a man is running his male action plan, becoming red pill, doing his things, there usually becomes a point where the girl starts to experience more dread and anxiety in her relationship, realizing that her man is becoming more valuable and she's starting to lose him. At first, it doesn't really matter because she wasn't really attracted. But over time, she starts to feel anxiety about it, and desire comes at the tail end of anxiety. Sex life increases, and then sometimes what happens is it manifests in a permanent state of a role reversal. Like, basically the man is in charge now. And this is the mother of all comfort test, and we call it the main event. And if you don't know if you're in a main event or not, I'll say if you have to ask, the answer is no. If there's not snot bubbles, sobbing, that hiccup, if that's not there, it's not a main event. A main event is not anything other than like a complete meltdown. And once you pass it, things changes. So for this guy who's been around for forever, he's probably the oldest guy I knew of who was in the red pill. This was 2015 and he was 64 at the time. So do the math. Yeah, the big event came out of nowhere. The wife took a little thing, blew it up for 3 days, test after test after test, trying to get me into full beta suck-up mode, victim pukes galore, accusations, and finally begging me not to leave her, promise me any sex I want, and asking for a reset. And in spite of this event, I'm making too many mistakes for this to be the last big event. Oh, what he was referring to there, by the way, is something called hysteric bonding, which is a concept that comes in place in the main event. You know how guys like Rollo Tomassi talk about a woman's sexuality is her only agency? Well, yeah, it turns out when relationship security gets threatened in her mind large enough, it's the same fight or flight response that somebody gets in a serious danger. And so what do? They basically turn into that porn star crazy sex in order to secure a guy. It's like the ultimate mate retention strategy. It's actually a neat concept. You can find out more about it. Read into the work of David Buss and Cindy Minson. They have a book, Why Women Have Sex, where they talk about it. It's kind of interesting. So he's like, I've been using Soft Red since I started the red pill about 6 months ago. Last month, my weight loss and muscle gain started paying off. My appearance is looking better. I'm 100% gray in the head. And I cut it a little shorter and started color blending. As I lost weight, I bought new style, glasses, fitted jeans, shirts, blazers, and show it all off. Overall, I look more like the successful businessman that I've always been, instead of just another fat old grandpa. And when I started refusing to eat the food she prepared that wasn't on my diet, as I had requested of her, small aside, if you're in a relationship, realize this. People like you the way you are, and they don't like it when you change. So once you start improving, especially physically, do expect your girl to start trying to sabotage you with food instantly. It's just one of those things. It's easier to make you fat and unattractive than it is to accept that you got a hot husband with you. It makes no sense. Welcome to the world of women. What can I tell you? Her hamster was visibly shaken. I threw away any candy she offered me, skipped meals that were not on my diet, and then she started nagging me about my diet. I jokingly told her I was a food Nazi, and this hit her more than the waitress that seems to want to flirt with me in front of her now. So more than the gym 3 times a week, I guess this was her dread tipping point. So first day of this, midday, leaving the house, making a furniture purchase. She starts giving me rapid fire orders in front of her friend that's coming along. I lose my temper and make a very angry comment about, yes, your royal highness. She says, what did I do to deserve that? He gets his control back and tells her, look, I lost my temper, shouldn't have. Let's just say, let's get this done and go. So he's under control, but she couldn't leave it alone. She makes one snarky comment after another, more whining, more complaining, then crying to her friend about how I'm so nasty. He's like, partially right there. Fair. Fair. So by the time we get home, he gets to witness The Exorcist home movie version. She accuses you of affairs, and he's like, none. Hating her, trying to kill her, and he's like, really? Calling her names, he's like, nope. Oversexed and deviant, he goes, granted. Lazy, yet when I try to get too much done, I'm uncaring. She can't live like this. She kept telling how she's the victim, has no friends, is 5 pounds overweight, lost his sense of humor, blah, blah, blah. And of course, all of this victim puke crap is his fault. So he just sits there, stays the course, maintains his frame, and in spite of taking way too much grief, he's like, I shouldn't have listened to half of that. Finally, she runs out of gas and goes to bed, only to stay awake most of the night with a crazy, raging hamster. And he's like, I slept like a baby. Day 2 starts with the home version, part 2. Same actors, same plot, but this time, she gets on her knees and begs him not to leave her for a younger, sexier woman. Begs him to stay with her. Begs. On her knees. He's like, holy shit, I was not ready for that one. She was so sad, I almost caved into full beta male supplication mode. Suddenly, I remembered, you cannot fail this main event. You can't. I held firm. Thank you guys so much for putting that thought in my head, because I would have totally screwed this up. Day 2 ended same as day 1. She wears out, goes to bed, then stays up most of the night with her hamster. He's like, I slept better than I thought I would. And day 3. Full day of shit tests, victim pukes. She comes to him in the evening to talk. Now she's more rational and exhausted. She says she'll do anything sexually that I want. She just wants a reset. And he's like, I planted that term on her with the prior conversations, which it actually is a red pill concept, the reset. So she wants the great relationship they had before, before he went supplicative. He's like 6 years ago. And she also wants him to stop being so angry at her all the time. He's like, that's more than fair. I told her, same. So they hug, they kiss, the end. And unlike you younger guys, no hot sex was had at the end of this exorcism. We were just too tired until tomorrow. And then it just wasn't that great. So a big event, not the big event. He's like, I don't think this is complete or lasting without continued effort. Looking back, when she said she wanted the great relationship we had before, I think what she meant is she wanted the beta guy back. So he's been working on inner game. His biggest faults are one-itis, his unwillingness to consider divorce, and holding frame. Although he's like, I've been working on those. I've transformed. I'm charming. I'm good-looking and in shape, but bored. I need something to do next. Another challenge to conquer. Please give it to me. It's been difficult for me to control my anger. As a result, I'm often detached to the point of cold-bloodedness, very short, sometimes being mean. Sometimes when she complains and shit tests, I get angry. Even if I try to hold it back, the anger shows and it's hard to control. So I've been excusing and rationalizing my poorly controlled behavior as part of the anger phase. Now, I believe what I'm really doing is losing frame and allowing myself to act like a bitch. But, working on it. She knows that he could just walk away, but doesn't believe that he would, because he's still working on his one-itis and it shows. She also believes more strongly than I do that I could attract someone better, but not that I would because of my weak frame and bouts of, goofy behavior. So bottom line, I'm going to prepare for the next big event, improving, strengthening my inner game. I believe I can solve my credibility problem by being more credible. As I continue, advice and comments greatly appreciated. So yeah, couple thoughts on this before I finish it off. Like, he handled it well. It's for the main event. This is something guys don't realize. It's so that comfort test is where she doesn't know how to keep you around. Glad you're getting your feelings. Yeah, she doesn't know about how to keep him around. So girls kind of respond with like this hysteria. Like, I talked before how women use language to process things. That's what she's doing here. Now, as a guy, you got to realize that the way this conversation goes solidifies the reality in her head. If she realizes she can cry and get hysteric, and then you go back to your previous way that was unattractive, not sexually attractive, then you've established the narrative, the frame. And here's the frame. Every time you act in a way that she does not like or makes her feel uncomfortable, she acts hysteric, and you will act in a way that makes her more comfortable. You're literally encouraging a girl to become psychotic. So yeah, You have to be a bit of a prick here. You have to be mean, you have to be cold. She can cry, she can snot bubble, she can accuse you of all these things. She can emote as much as she wants. And it's like, and this is partially what the concept that comes after. It's called come to Jesus. And that's the idea, is you're letting them know the narrative moving forward. Like, what is the frame? And in this case, it's like, look. In his case, he's like, yeah, fair. I sometimes get too angry. I can work on that. It's fair. I like when things go back to the way they used to be. For him, the way they used to be means happy. And that's all that he cares about. And he goes, all you have to do is just not do this stuff. And all I have to do is work on being better in those ways that we are both acknowledging are true. So all this hysteria kind of goes away, and then she realizes, and this is what the narrative becomes then. It becomes, I'm having a huge amount of anxiety because this attractive man, I might lose him. I ask for comfort. He gives me comfort. I have that release of anxiety, and, sexually it turns into a happier, healthier marriage. Of course, they're older, but I'll tell you right now, it's like, dude, had he gone for it that night, he'd had the pooper. Just saying. Anyways, back to the thing here. So Jack and him are talking. He's like, yeah, a main event happens when a woman simultaneously acknowledges her insecurities and realizes that the only one responsible for mitigating those insecurities is her. They all follow the same pattern. A wife projects a bunch of shitty behavior onto the husband, accuses of being unsympathetic to her laundry list of insecurities. Then there's a break. The wife realizes they're hers, and if they're unchecked, will lead to the ultimate insecurity, being a post-wall woman with a stretched vagina caused by multiple kids and no man. So every shit test before the main event is communicating the same thing. How dare you make me acknowledge a reality where you leave me because I failed to address my faults? I personally think that fucking 60 here knocked it out of the park. His wife doesn't need beta bucks anymore. Kids are grown. If they have retirement funds, she'll get a big chunk of it in divorce. Plus, no shortage of government benefits for elderlies in the US. If she's got her shit together, I can't imagine it was because, okay, I need to shape up because otherwise I'll lose this guy in the beta bucks gravy train. She doesn't need the beta bucks. She doesn't want to just be a divorced cat lady in her 50s or 60s because of any guy of appropriate dating age, because he's bang out a 36-year-old and still be age appropriate. Op is struggling because of too little comfort in this sense, which I don't know if I agree with Jack's take, but I mean, go with it here. In his previous posts and comments, he talks a lot about anger, probably because his wife explicitly said she needs to act a certain way, and it's only when he did the opposite that he got any results. That's annoying. It's easy to feel intentionally misled. It's like, why would you tell me to do the exact opposite of what would make you more attracted to me? Why? Are you just some sort of sadistic bitch who loved neutering every aspect of masculinity while convincing me it was in my best interest? It's like, dude, look, man, let it go. The main event is just another demonstration of all women are like that or AWOL'd. Your wife's blue pill, beta bitch advice sucked, and there was no real game here. It was just a misguided woman regurgitating crap from society because the truth, the idea that you could leave her if she didn't take responsibility for herself and by proxy, making you happy, was too scary to acknowledge. That's it, man. Your main event proves exactly that. So for less confrontational shit tests, try more fogging. You can acknowledge your insecurities without indulging them. Sometimes, like, you're clearly unhappy with things in your life, but I don't want to really think they have much to do with me. Take a moment, think about what's happened, blah, blah, blah. So just stay stoic. Don't take the bait. Just see your wife as who she is, a scared wife who's coming to terms that her previous shitty behavior may have trapped her in a life of a 60-year-old divorcee. That's scary, man. Her shit tests are coming out of fear. Remember that. Like I said, don't indulge it. But when you see her anger as misguided fear, you'll find the shit tests are a lot easier to handle and to remain stoic. So I guess I'll end on this. Like, I get Jack's perspective here. Mine is kind of, I got the benefit of hindsight. So it's neat to see this. And I think it would be good for guys to realize, because, I mean, how many of us are into fights online with random chicks you don't even know? Dude, half my timeline has, like, Catholic women that hate their husbands, and they hate me too. Or, like, weird spinsters having their, I'm still hot, how dare you, sir? Once you realize all this anger isn't angry, bitter, spiteful women, it's just scared. Of course they're scared. Who wants to, like, think about how much you as a guy don't want to end up alone and lonely. Now multiply that by 10. And that's what a girl feels. Girls hate the idea of, like, being socially isolated. It goes right against their DNA. It's like the It's like a guy when you're going to get mugged. It's like that fight or flight kicks right in, man. Now, I'm not saying this to have some sympathy, but once you realize the motivations are fear and not anger or disdain or hate, you start to reframe it in a different way. You realize it's almost like a pitying response as opposed to an angry one. And you realize you've been making like a little scared chihuahua in the corner your arch nemesis when it's just a wee little girl. Just doesn't want to be alone, man. Anyways, so that's it for this one. Hope you learned a bit about the main event, handling it in your own relationships, and I don't know, maybe some insight into the human condition. So I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Cheers.